Hello friend, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss some important news from The Hindu newspaper. So first important news is this news. World Bank lowers India's growth forecast to 6.3%. So World Bank has published a report in which they forecast or they predict that GDP growth of India for this financial year means 23-24, this financial year the GDP growth will be 6.3%, and the name of the report is this South Asia Economic Focus Expanding Opportunities Toward Inclusive Growth Report. This is the name of the report in which World Bank forecasted that GDP growth of India for 23-24 will be 6.3%. Now remember, in the last quarter of 2022-23, in the last quarter of the previous financial year, World Bank predicted that GDP growth of India in 23-24 will be 7%. But this report, they have lowered the GDP growth by 0.7% to 6.3%. So the World Bank has forecast a 6.3% economic growth rate for India in the current financial year for fiscal year, which ends March 31st, 2024. So up to 1st April to March 31st this financial year, the GDP growth will be 6.3%. A downgrade of 0.7 percentage points since its October forecast, means in the last October they predicted that GDP growth will be 7%, but now they lowered this GDP growth by 0.7 percentage. Now what is the reason behind this? The primary reasons for this are high borrowing cost and slower income growth causing weaker consumption as well as the government tightening fiscal expenditure. The World Bank said in its South Asia Economic Focus Expanding Opportunities Toward Inclusive Growth report released ahead of next week's spring meetings in Washington DC. Now I will directly jump into the report, what they have said, what are the other report they have published in this report. Now this is South Asia Economic Focus Spring 2023 published by the World Bank, and this is the report. After downloading, so this is the downloaded page, this is the report, a report of nearly 200-page report, South Asia Economic Focus Expanding Opportunities Toward Inclusive Growth. Okay. Now come to the prediction. Okay, look at, they have said that here India's growth has been adjusted downward by 0.7 percentage point to 6.3% as rising borrowing cost and the consolidation of current fiscal spending dampen consumption. Okay, so what is the prediction about GDP growth for this financial year is 6.3% as per World Bank. Okay, now they have published many more reports about India and other South Asian countries. I will show you a very interesting report. Look, activities in the industrial sector and especially manufacturing have declined. So this report is about industrial sector and manufacturing sector progress. So look, red color is, I am further zooming it. Now red color is Bangladesh, blue color is India, then Pakistan is grey color, and yellow color is Sri Lanka, orange color is Sri Lanka, yellow color is Sri Lanka. So look, India, the blue color India is this line. So this is the growth of, here what is written here, merchandise export. So merchandise export means exports of goods Okay, there are two types of export, goods export and service export. So good export is called merchandise export. So merchandise export curve of India is rising and then falling, then again rising. From January 2023 it is again in rising mode, whereas the red color representing Bangladesh merchandise export is also rising, and the rate of rising is more than rate of rising of India. Whereas look at Pakistan export, this gray color which is declining, as well as Sri Lanka's export graph is also declining, and it is industrial production. So industrial production graph of India, that is blue color, is increasing, whereas Bangladesh industrial production is rapidly increasing. Okay. Then next is service sector. India's service sector is very strong. So service sector activity was led by recovery in tourism. So tourism is also one type of service sector. So tourism, look, India is representing by blue line. So blue line, India's tourism service sector is growing. Okay, whereas Maldives tourism service sector is rapidly growing. But look this graph, the yellow color is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's tourism service sector is declining rapidly, then slowly it is rising, and it is Nepal service sector is also declining and slowly rising. Okay, there is no mention of Pakistan because there is zero tourism in Pakistan. Next is, look, this is business confidence. What about business confidence? Look, India is blue color, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Business confidence is very good in India. Okay, here they have written invest and business confidence remains strong in India, whereas business sentiment is weak in Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So this is curve of India's business confidence, whereas in Sri Lanka's business confidence is lowering, and this is the business confidence curve of India, the blue color, which is rising, and Pakistan business confidence curve is declining, as well as Sri Lanka's business confidence curve. Next is PMI employment index. So PMI employment index means employment has expanded in India, means how about employment. So what is the curve of India? That is India, blue color is India's manufacturing and dotted blue is Indian service sector. So manufacturing sector employment is also growing, service sector employment is also growing, whereas employment in Sri Lanka in both manufacturing and service is declining. Next is GDP growth, quarterly GDP growth in India, Maldives and Sri Lanka. So look, after the COVID period, GDP growth is constantly rising, falling and maintain a curve, but GDP growth is of Maldives after COVID is increasing, decreasing, increasing, whereas GDP growth of Sri Lanka after COVID slightly increased, then fallen sharply. Okay, next is, what is this? Okay, consumer price index and wholesale price index, means this is inflation curve. Okay, so inflation curve, look, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Okay, so look, inflation in Pakistan and Sri Lanka is very high, whereas inflation in India is not so much high. Okay, same case for wholesale price index. Wholesale price index inflation in India is very low, okay, compared to Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Next, now export restriction on food by South Asian countries. So what is restricted in country wise, like Afghanistan restricted export ban on wheat, means they will not export any wheat, Bangladesh export ban on rice, export ban on Bangladesh export ban on rice means Bangladesh will not export any rice. Now Indian government export ban on sugar, export ban on wheat, export licensing on wheat flour, export taxes on rice. So these export are banned by government of India: sugar, wheat flour and rice. Pakistan export ban on sugar. And major trading partner of South Asian region, that is Russia, is a major trading partner, and Russia export ban on rice, export taxes on soybean, export taxes on sunflower oil and meal, export taxes on wheat, barley and corn. Okay, next interesting thing is this is the red color indicating import and blue color is export. So India is exporting, whereas Bangladesh is also exporting, but the export value is less than India, whereas Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka completely depend on import. And import of Pakistan is highest. Now next is lending rate. How much lend, how much borrow the country borrowed from banks like IMF, like World Bank. Look, the yellow color representing Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka borrowed highest, followed by Pakistan, followed by Nepal, then India, then Bangladesh. Next, subsidy, food and fertilizer subsidy in South Asian countries. Now Indian government LPG subsidy, direct benefit transfer, kerosene, petrol and diesel duties adjusted on discretionary basis, electricity subsidy through SOE. So Indian government giving subsidy like 100% subsidy on various types of fertilizer paid to fertilizer company based on sale. That's why the price of fertilizer is very low. Under public distribution system, grains are procured by government from farmer at prices above market and sold at subsidized rate on free to vulnerable and poor household. Food subsidies accounted for almost 1.2% of GDP in fiscal year 21-22. Now come to the table of GDP. This is the table of GDP growth in the region downgraded amid continuing pressure. So 2021, 22, 23 forecasted means prediction, 24 forecasted. So look, South Asian region, total South Asian region excluding Afghanistan, the GDP forecasted is 5.6. The GDP forecasted is 5.6%, and what about last fiscal year GDP, that is 5.9%. And next fiscal year GDP will be 5.6%. Maldives has shown a highest growth of GDP, that is 12.3%, and then 23 forecasted is 6.6%, whereas Sri Lanka minus 7.8, minus 4.3. What about India? India showed a very good GDP growth, 6.9%, and next prediction is 6.3% as per World Bank. Bangladesh has shown a very good last year GDP growth, and next GDP growth will be 5.2%. What about Pakistan? Pakistan shows a very good GDP growth last year, 6%, whereas their next GDP growth this fiscal year is only 0.4%. Very worse condition. So this is the total report, glimpses of report I have shown you of World Bank about GDP growth of South Asian countries, especially India. Now move to next topic. Like World Bank, Asian Development Bank also predicted or forecasted GDP growth of India. Like World Bank predicted GDP growth of India will be 6.3%, and what Asian Development Bank projected, that is ADB cuts India's fiscal 24 to 6.4%. So World Bank predicted 6.3, Asian Development Bank predicted 6.4%. Okay. Flag slowing investment. So Asian Development Bank has slashed its growth projection for India for 2023-24 sharply from 7.2% estimated earlier to 6.4%, attributing the cut to the global economic slowdown, tight monetary condition and persistently elevated oil prices. Okay. Now they have also published a report. I will show you the report. So this is the GDP growth in Asia and the Pacific Asian Development Outlook. What is the name of this report? Asian Development Outlook. And after downloading the Excel file, this is the Excel file. I am zooming it for you. Okay, look, developing Asia, GDP growth 2019, 18, 19, 21, 20, 21, 22, 23 forecast. So developing Asia 23 forecast is 4.8%, means total Asia GDP growth will be 4.8%. Now developing Asia excluding North Korea, what will be the GDP growth? That is 4.6%. Okay. Then Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Hong Kong, People's Republic of China. What Asian Development Bank is saying? People's Republic of China's GDP growth will be 5%. As China is a very large economy, growth of 5% is enough for them. Okay, now what about South Korea? South Korea's GDP growth will be very less, only 1.5%. Now, what about Bangladesh GDP growth? 5.3%. Now, what about India's GDP growth forecasted? 6.4%. Here it is written 6.4%. What about Maldives? Maldives, they have forecasted 7.1%. Now, what about Pakistan? Pakistan GDP growth, they have forecasted 0.6% only. And what about Sri Lanka? Minus 3%. And what about Southeast Asian nation? 4.7%. Okay. So India it is expected that India's GDP will be about 3%. It is sure. Okay. Now, which data Government of India actually received? Which data? Because Asian Development Bank is showing a report, World Bank is showing a report. Now Government of India has published their own report, and that is accepted, and the report was published by this Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation Program Implementation. They will calculate and publish the actual GDP forecasted for this financial year. Okay, and that will be the genuine report. Now move to next topic. Doctors in Rajasthan call off protest against health bill. Rajasthan pass a health bill in their assembly, and what is the bill? The bill saying that ensuring treatment, the right to health bill. The name of the bill is the Right to Health Bill, passed in the assembly on March 21, gives every resident of Rajasthan the right to emergency treatment care without prepayment of requisite fees or charges to any health institution. Means passed a assembly gives every resident of Rajasthan the right to emergency treatment care without prepayment of requisite fees or charges to any health institution. Means when you have emergency and you move to hospital, and hospital is saying that you have to submit a prepayment, then the treatment will start. That cannot be done. Okay, treatment is first, then payment is next. Okay. So that is the bill, that is called right to health bill. Now the doctors and health staff of private hospitals start protesting against this bill. After 2 weeks of protest against right to health bill, private doctors in Rajasthan on Tuesday called off their agitation after reaching an agreement with the state government on the applicability of legislation. The Private Hospital and Nursing Home Association announced that all hospitals across the state will start functioning from Wednesday morning. Okay, so after severe protest, finally they have reached an agreement. Now, what is the agreement? Principal Secretary T. Ravikant and representative of agitating doctor arrived at a consensus that the private hospitals that have not got concession or taken land and building at subsidized rate from the state government will be kept out of the purview of the act. Means the private hospital which have not get any concession from government or any subsidy or rent land from government, okay, taken land and building at subsidized rate from the same state government will be kept out of the purview of the act. The two sides signed a memorandum of understanding comprising 8 points. Okay, that is the news. Move to next news. Published by Ministry of Defence, India Sri Lanka annual bilateral maritime exercise SLENEX 23. What is the name of this exercise? SLENEX, Sri Lanka India maritime exercise SLENEX 23. So 10th edition of India Sri Lanka bilateral maritime exercise SLENEX 23 is scheduled at Colombo from 3rd to 8th April 2023. The exercise is being conducted in two phases. First is the harbour phase from 3 to 5 April, followed by sea phase from 6 to 8th April. Indian Navy is being represented by INS Kilton. So Indian Navy represented by INS Kilton and indigenous Kamorta class, ASW corvette and INS Savitri, an offshore patrol vessel. Sri Lankan Navy is being represented by SLNS Gojabahu and SLNS Sagoro. Okay. Maritime patrol aircraft, helicopter, special forces from both the sides would also participate in the exercise. Now, I will show you, this is the picture of India and Sri Lankan Navy personnel, okay, and this is our proud INS Kilton offshore maritime corvette which represent India in the SLENEX 23 maritime exercise. Okay. Now, I have made a table of Indian joint military exercise with other countries in this year 2023. First with France, Navy and Air Force. Location Western Seaboard. In our country, Western Seaboard. Name of the exercise is Varuna. So Varuna is exercise between India and France in the month of January. Then again with France, this time Army. This is where Pangod military station and Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. Okay. So the name of the exercise is Fringex 23, 7 to 8th March. And now it's Sri Lanka Navy. The exercise location is Colombo in Sri Lanka. Name is SLENEX 3 to 8th April 2023. So this is the important news I have discussed from today's newspaper. If you like my discussion, please like the video, subscribe my channel. Thank you.